Always count on you. Anybody need any more time? We good? I want to thank all of you for being here, and I especially want to thank for being here in Baton Rouge, in the state of Louisiana, at the Governor's Mansion today, FEMA Administrator Brock Long. Also want to thank Mayor Landrieu for joining us. Administrator Long was confirmed by the United States Senate as the FEMA Administrator on June 20th. And in just over 2 months, this is the third opportunity that I've had to personally meet with the Administrator, and I want to thank him for that partnership, for leaning forward and working so well with the state of Louisiana. And I appreciate his willingness to do that, and his experience being the Director of the Governor's Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness, a cabinet level position in Alabama, and having worked so closely with Louisiana over a number of disasters, including taking in Louisiana citizens in his state, I think gives us an advantage because he knows so many of the people here in Louisiana who remain in government service and who respond to disasters. So I appreciate that very much. And by the way, Administrator Long, I also appreciate the results that we've gotten from FEMA over the 19 months that I've been governor. We've had 57 out of 64 parishes declared major federal disasters, principally because of floods last March and in August, but also in February of this year with the strongest tornado ever measured in New Orleans. In fact, it hit New Orleans East. By the numbers, FEMA assistance to Louisiana over that time period has exceeded $5 billion. And we appreciate that very much. The federal aid to schools alone is over $90 million. We just had an opportunity to complete a very in-depth briefing with the FEMA Administrator on a number of issues here in Louisiana, including FEMA's assistance to us in response to the 2016 floods, outstanding issues from previous storms such as Hurricanes Katrina, Rita, Gustav, and Ike, and also ongoing preparations for any hurricane or storm that might hit Louisiana, particularly worried about the remainder of this hurricane season, and as it relates to the situation in New Orleans, which is why I'm so appreciative that Mayor Landrieu is here with us today. So we're grateful for the partnership with FEMA. We're also grateful for the partnership we have with local level officials as well, such as Mayor Landrieu. We know that there are a lot of improvements that we can continue to make in the aftermath of disaster to help people recover faster, but we also can always improve the way that we prepare for these disasters as well. That doesn't happen without good communication and the types of meetings that we just had. I would like to mention that we are monitoring Harvey, which is in the Gulf of Mexico, or soon, I think, will be in the Gulf of Mexico. And we are encouraging folks, especially in southwest Louisiana, but really all over Louisiana, because we don't know yet how widespread the rain bands are going to be and how widespread the different wind effects will be. But we're expecting now, based on what the National Weather Service is saying, that potentially a Category 1 hurricane will hit Texas sometime on Friday. So we're monitoring that, and at GOSEP, they will set up their crisis action team tomorrow. We're going to continue to working together with Administrator Long and all the local elected officials, and we're going to rely upon the experience that we have in Louisiana preparing for and responding to disasters, which is more than we would like to have, but it certainly comes in handy when we need it. And with that, I'm going to ask Administrator Long to come up and make some comments. Thank you.
All right. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. I've been in office for 2 months now and had the pleasure of working with Governor Edwards quite a bit already to understand the issues that Louisiana is currently facing in the recovery realm, but also what they're proactively doing to prepare as we come into the heart of hurricane season. And I really appreciate the Governor's strong leadership as well as the Mayor's strong leadership and their proactive stance in leaning forward to understand the issues how we get better, how we take the opportunity to use recovery dollars from the federal government to put them to work and create more resilient communities going forward. As we come into the heart of hurricane season, I think I want to reiterate that it's very important for everyone in the state of Louisiana, as well as, more importantly, as well as in the city of New Orleans, to fully understand the hazards that you face when it comes to not just hurricanes, but also the torrential rains that cause flooding that we've seen in the past as well. Not only do you need to understand that vulnerability, but what actions to take and who to listen to when it comes to warning order communication and making sure that you're heeding correctly the things that local leaders and state leaders are asking you to do. It's an honor to be here. FEMA under my leadership is going to constantly try to work to streamline recovery, to reduce the complexity as much as we can, to make sure that when communities are hit, that we can help to formulate your recovery goals very quickly and implement the state's recovery goals and local government's recovery goals very quickly and effectively as we can. So again, thank you, Governor, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
All right. Good, Mayor.
Administrator, thank you very much, and I want to join the governor in welcoming Administrator Brock Long in his new position as head of FEMA. As the governor reiterated, as he illuminated on the number of disasters that we've had, the state of Louisiana and the people of the city of New Orleans have been through Katrina, Rita, Ike, Gustav, the recession, the BP oil spill, the tornado, and all of the other events that the governor talked about. And unfortunately, we have gotten all too experienced at responding to the myriads of natural and in some instances man-made disasters in the last 12 years. And FEMA has really been a great partner, especially for the city of New Orleans. So I want to thank them. I also want to thank the governor, who has always been available to the people of the city of New Orleans every time that he is called and is always available to me. So, Governor, I want to thank you for your support. Since Hurricane Katrina, FEMA has been an unbelievable partner for us. As you know, we have completed 459 citywide projects worth about $1.2 billion. Over the next 8 years, you will see a substantial amount of work on the sewer and water system in the city of New Orleans. You now know that we got a $2.7 billion settlement. Starting this year, you're going to see about $400 million worth of work repairing a system that has been broken for a long time. Over the last 7 years, we've been actually reconstructing the sewer and water system. And as you know now, the drainage system in New Orleans is part of that overall effort. We have been working really, really hard on that. Today, I have announced the creation of an interim emergency management team to be led by Colonel Paul Rainwater, who has extensive experience on the federal, state, and local level, along with Brigadier General Owen McConduit, who is going to help lead that effort as well, along with 3 other highly credentialed, highly professional individuals that will take us through the next 100 days. You also know that we have a team of engineers working on rebuilding the power supply, the pump stations, and the manpower, and they are making substantial progress as we speak. Also, as Administrator Long said, we had a tabletop exercise relating to hurricane plans. We are leaning forward, making sure that we can give to the public the information they need to protect themselves as storm systems develop. But I just want to, again, reiterate how important FEMA has been to the work that we've done. The pre-planning, the leaning forward, and, of course, the governor's partnership has been essential as well. So with that, I thank you, and Administrator, congratulations and welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
That was pretty fast. Go ahead.
Good afternoon. Administrator Long, Sabrina Wilson with the Hospital.
Okay.
What concerns do you have, if any, about the ongoing drainage challenges in the city of New Orleans as we move deeper into hurricane season, and there's a forecast of heavy rain this weekend?
So obviously, the life safety mission is paramount, and we're working very closely through our state partners, ultimately to assist the mayor. We've already inserted some of our planners into the state's teams to support the local governments. The Army Corps of Engineers is supplying emergency generation power as the city is working to bring the generators up online. So,
yeah. Well, the good news is every day the city's capacity is increased in terms of power generation and pump capacity. And obviously there is a window of time where there's more vulnerability than we would like, but there is no reason for the people of New Orleans to be panicked at all. Right now, based upon the forecasts that we know, we're going to continue to monitor those forecasts very, very carefully. But I just want everyone to know that for not just over the last day or two, but for an extended period of time, we have been partnering with the City of New Orleans, with our federal partners, Corps of Engineers, National Guard, to lean forward and do everything that we can to make sure that New Orleans is as prepared as it can possibly be. And every day that I talk to the mayor, which is just about every day, the situation is better than it was the day before. Now, we are going to prepare as best we can. And as you all know, I like to ask people to pray as well. And that's always important. So we're going to do both in Louisiana, and we know how to do that.
If I could follow up there,
Sure.
is there anything in particular that's being done? I know you announced the creation of the emergency management team, but as we look forward to the weekend and the coming days, that's being done on the ground in New Orleans to make sure, as much as possible, the system is ready.
Yes, well, as every day, 24/7, since the event, we have had some of the top experts in power generation working at the Sewage and Water Board to make sure that those power generating things that we have, they're actually being put back online. And every day, as the governor just said, it gets better. That is the same thing true about the pumps. So every day we give you an updated report about how our capacity grows. On top of that, we're actually leaning forward on preparedness in the event that we have the kind of a rain event that we need to move people. We don't expect that to happen. But every day we give you guys update. For example, right now Pump Station 7 is fully operational. And Pump Station 6, we had a major pump that came on the other day. Because they're working 24/7, the date that those were supposed to be finished is now moving up rather than back. And the power generation issue, which is being re-engineered, is being worked on as we speak. And I feel much better today than I did. But between now and September 4th or 5th, or a couple of days therein, we're in a more vulnerable period than we need to be in. After that, based on the engineering work that's done, we should be not only back to where we were, but actually in a better circumstance. But that is a day-to-day thing. We will report to you as needed. And as both the administrator and the governor said, given the weather systems, we'll watch them very, very closely. We have an entire team of people just being prepared and leaning forward in the event that we need it. But I want to reiterate, there's no reason to panic. We've been through many of these things before, and we'll give you the best counsel and advice that we can based on our capacity as the weather systems change. I'm sorry? Wait, I'm sorry. Answer that. Ask me that question again.
The new plan for evacuating the city in a rainstorm.
We don't have a new plan to evacuate the city in a rainstorm. What we had was a hurricane roundtable to talk about what all of the issues were and what the trigger would be. There's a difference between a rainstorm and a tropical event, and not every tropical event is equal. The administrator just reminded me that Superstorm Sandy was actually a tropical event. I think the governor will agree with me, and the administrator will, that of all the storms that we've seen, every one of them is different. One of the things that we're trying to get away from is describing storms according to Category 1 through 5, and are thinking about slosh models as well. There are some storms that are low graded, that if they sit over you a long period of time will cause you trouble. Of course, the event that occurred in New Orleans, on top of all the ones the governor said occurred across, and the administrator reminded me today, the day before was predicted to be a 1-inch rain event, but it hit a wall and it stayed over a small part of the city, and it dropped a huge amount of rain in a short period of time. Those things are very hard to predict. And so we don't have a trigger yet because we don't have clarity on the weather events that are coming. And of course, every day that our capacity gets bigger, that trigger gets higher. And so unless and until we have then one, we won't be able to articulate what it is, but we watch that every day. And as the governor said, we talk on a fairly regular basis.
Administrator, switching gears to last fall, in August rather, you obviously were not in this position, but how would you rate how FEMA handled the immediate response to that storm, and what could have been done better, what could be streamlined, as you mentioned, to help improve?
You know, I'm not really in a position to speculate how FEMA responded. I think I would actually probably defer that to the mayor as well as the governor, and I think what they've been very happy and pleased with the response and the recovery efforts that are underway as a result of the flooding. There's always room for improvement in what we do. One of the missions that I want to put forward is reducing the complexity in recovery, trying to streamline and simplify policies. I believe that in many cases, recovery, the way recovery funding comes from not just FEMA, but multiple federal government agencies can in some cases be fragmented. How do we streamline, pull that funding together to do the greatest good with it, and ultimately use it to become more resilient in the future?
Is there any other sort of streamlining things that you think of in terms of specifics?
Well, here again, FEMA, there's other agencies like HUD, DOD, Federal Highway, you've got the Small Business Administration. There's a multitude of agencies that provide different types of support through grants or through supplies. And what I'm saying is that it's very important for us to make sure that that type of support, when it comes down, is that we're educating the states and the locals and leading them to understand what they're entitled to, how to use all that funding in concert with one another. And that's an initiative that I'm trying to take on and put into place.
Governor, is there anything specific that you've requested from FEMA in terms of streamlined regulations or any hurdles that you found?
Yeah, well, first of all, and I just want to make sure that we're all clear. When it comes to disasters, there is a response phase and a recovery phase. And in the response phase, I will tell you that we had folks from FEMA, including Tony Robinson, the Region 6 administrator who's here today, and others, embedded with us the entire time. And it remains the case today that there was not a single request for assistance that came to us from any political subdivision of the state of Louisiana that was not timely met. And from that perspective, I will tell you that the partnership, the response from FEMA could not have been better. We all know that it took too long to get the FEMA approved trailers in place. That certainly wasn't Administrator Long's problem. He wasn't there, but that took too long. And the one thing that I've asked Congress to do, because I don't know whether this is a Stafford Act limitation or whether it's a FEMA policy limitation, is the STEP program. We shelter really well, and then we have the long-term housing recovery that's run through Housing and Urban Development, principally using CDBG dollars. But the interim there, that transitional sheltering program, we would really like to have the ability to pre-contract so that we have contracts before the disaster ever happens. We think we can negotiate lower cost and be leaning forward and deliver to the people in a quicker fashion. And so that's one thing we've asked Congress and the administration, the administrator to consider. But I'm not offering that as a criticism. But that is something that I think that we can do better if we will lean forward. I believe we have hit a hard stop. And so I want to thank all of you for being here and ask you to please travel safely going home. And God bless you. Thank you. Thank you.